Sony, it's been long enough. You should try releasing Morbius again. I'm sure we'll all see it this time. Hey there, kids, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, hoping that you are having a great day. And in today's video, we're going to talk about video games. Video games, one of my favorite hobbies, if I'm being completely honest. You see, I remember the first video game I owned. It was The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening for the Game Boy. And I remember that with Link's Awakening, all I needed was the game itself, a Game Boy, and 2 batteries. And you put the cartridge in the Game Boy, turned it on, and the game started. And you could play it for as long as those batteries lasted. You didn't need to download Link's Awakening off of the internet, which didn't really exist back then. You didn't need to update Link's Awakening every few months because the devs forgot to put something in the game or it came out unfinished. You didn't need to update the Game Boy software. You didn't need to be on the internet to play. You know, gaming when I was younger, gaming when I was a child, is very different from the landscape that gaming is experiencing these days. And I'm just going to come out and say it. Gaming is worse today. Gaming is much worse today than it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and early 2000s. And yeah, some of that is just nostalgia, right? Because obviously I like some of the video games I grew up with more than video games from, I don't know, 2019 or 2022 or 2023, whatever. You know, obviously I'm going to have a bit of a bias towards the things I'm familiar with and the things that I enjoy. But if you cut out the quality of the games themselves, if you cut out the stories, the characters, all that jazz, and you just look at the accessibility, the pure quality of the games as released, you notice a disparity between older generations and the stuff hitting the market these days. And this isn't about any one company. It's not about Nintendo or Microsoft or Sony or EA Games, which I guess somehow still exists, or Ubisoft, which apparently might still exist. It's hard to say. This is about how gaming developers as a whole have gotten much worse at what they do over the last, I'd say, 15 years. You have probably heard about the Stop Killing Games initiative. It is a petition in the EU, Europe, whatever. It has a lot of signatures, and it's about preventing gaming companies from removing access to video games for people who have purchased them. This is a petition that everybody with a brain agrees with. Everybody with a functioning brain agrees that if you buy something, the company that sold it to you should not have the ability to take it away. Okay? Everybody agrees that a company deleting a game from your library or removing the ability to play it or breaking your console, everybody agrees that that's a bad thing. And it really we shouldn't have even been in this position. We should not have gotten to a point where people feel that there's a need to have a petition to enforce this kind of law. This is the kind of thing that should never have occurred in the first place. But over the last decade and a half, more and more companies have been leaning towards this way of development. You know, no longer are game devs forced to build within the constraints of the system requirements for the various consoles. They can make a game as improperly coded as possible, as unfinished as possible, with boring characters, a bad plot, some real glitches in the gameplay. Because the expectation is, after release, you can just patch that stuff up, get the money now, and fix it later, right? In the 90s, that wasn't really an option. In the 90s, if a game came out and it was bad forever. And game devs knew that. So in the 90s, while there wasn't a push to make the games as great as they could possibly be, a lot of game developers knew that what they put out was the final product, so they had to do their best with what they had. A lot of pressure was on them back then. But in the age of the internet, in the age of post-release updates, that's changed. Game devs have gotten addicted to easy cash flow, so to speak. And a consequence of that is that, live service games have become more and more prevalent, more and more pervasive in the industry, infecting more and more corners of the gaming landscape. I'm not a fan of live service games. I have never been a fan of live service games because I firmly believe that the best gaming experience is what I had when I was a kid. Taking a little cartridge, shoving it into your console, and turning the game on and playing it. That's it. No need for the internet. Minimal need for other players. Just a good, solid gameplay experience. All in one package. This video is about, as I'm 5 minutes into the video, this video is about the Stop Killing Games petition. I fully support it. If you are in the EU, the European Union, wherever it is that you can sign it, if you have the ability to do so, and you haven't done it already for whatever reason, I encourage you to sign it. I encourage you to make your voice known and let the powers that be know that a product, once sold to the consumer, should be in the hands of that consumer and not the company that makes it. And going forward, I would suggest everybody do something that I've been an advocate of for a while now. And that is, stop supporting always online games. Stop supporting games that need post-release patch updates. Stop supporting games that need to be downloaded to play. When you go into your mall or your GameStop or your local video game store, don't buy the newest, coolest, spiced up video games. Grab a PS2 game, grab a PS1 game, grab a GameCube game, grab an Atari game. Pick up something for the N64 or the GameCube. Grab something for the Xbox 360. Speak with your wallet is a phrase, vote with your wallet, I should say, is a phrase that most people say when it comes to bad decisions companies make. The intention being that companies will notice when money is moving away from one product towards another kind, right? I do firmly believe that with enough people sick of the current state of the gaming industry, putting their money into older, tried and true games, that some real change could happen. I don't think there's a future. I don't think there's a future where game devs suddenly stop trying to force post-release patching into their games, right? But I do believe there's a future where less and less of that happens as more and more pressure is put onto gaming companies to have as good a product on release as possible because of the fear that enough players, enough of the audience are just going to turn towards everything from the last 40 years that is tried and true and we know works. Why buy a $60, $80, $90, $100 video game that might not even function right on release when you know for a fact you can go down to your local retro gaming store or eBay, or Facebook Marketplace or anything like that, and for much less buy a game that you know works. God of War for the PS2 probably costs like $11 to $15. Ocarina of Time you can probably get for under $50. Some NES games are fairly cheap. Super Nintendo games, fairly cheap. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and there's very little reason to support a lot of the worst practices that these modern gaming companies have. So, this is my rant video for the week. Who am I kidding? This is my rant video for the day. don't support any of this nonsense, this DRM content, this always online content, the post-release patching. Games should come out, be good when they come out, be finished and complete when they come out. And companies that are incapable of delivering that should be penalized, in my opinion. Not by some oversight body that punishes them legally, but they should be punished by the players, the people who will no longer buy games that from companies that do this. That's what I believe. You guys agree with me? Yes or no? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I've got really nothing else to say other than, man, how is Ubisoft still around? It's crazy. I'll see you kids next time.